Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking into something pretty astonishing. The rise, the really meteoric rise of the Ottoman Empire.
It's an incredible story.
Right. You start with this small principality, almost a footnote, and then boom, within about a century and a half, they're dominating the Balkans.
Utterly dominating. We're talking Byzantium completely gone, Constantinople taken.
The legendary city. And huge chunks of territory absorbed: Serbia, Albania, Bosnia. The scale is just immense.
It really is.
So our mission here isn't just to recount what happened. We want to dig into the how. What were the unique factors, the counterintuitive things even, that let them pull this off?
Exactly. How did they overcome those, classic nomad problems and beat formidable European enemies?
We're hoping to unpack some surprising insights into state building, military tactics, maybe even geopolitical maneuvering. We've drawn from some detailed historical analyses to bring you the key takeaways.
Yeah, looking at nomad states generally, they almost always hit the same roadblocks, right? Stuff that made them unstable.
Like what specifically?
Well, first, warrior loyalty. It was fickle, totally tied to success. If the leader stopped winning battles, stopped bringing in loot,
Warriors just drifted away.
pretty much, allegiance evaporated. Then you had inheritance traditions. Usually land and spoils got divided equally among the male heirs.
Which sounds fair, but...
But it basically guaranteed civil war between brothers every generation, constantly tearing the state apart from within.
Ah, okay. And the whole lifestyle.
Yeah, the fundamental clash between being nomadic and needing settled agriculture, towns, cities, the stuff you need for stable taxes and resources long term.
And other nomad groups just couldn't square that circle?
Largely no. They kept failing to make that transition permanent. But the Ottomans, somehow they did. They cracked it.
And that's the paradox, isn't it? They came from that same nomadic background, the Kai tribe, but they flipped the script.
Completely. And the absolute key, the sources really stress this, was the House of Osman.
The ruling family.
But not just any ruling family. Think about this. From Osman I, starting around 1281, all the way to Suleiman I, ending in 1566. You get 10 rulers. 10 in a row.
And they were all...
exceptionally talented, successful, capable. An unbroken chain like that was unheard of.
Wow. So that consistency.
It changed everything. It allowed them to institutionalize loyalty. It wasn't just about following the successful warlord anymore. It was about loyalty to the dynasty.
The House of Osman itself became the focus.
Exactly. And that stability, that continuity, let them overcome what the sources call the bane of all previous nomad states. That constant internal fragmentation. It was revolutionary.
And location played a part too, right? Osman's original territory.
Oh, hugely important. Northwest Anatolia, right up against Byzantine lands.
Distant territory.
The only major Christian territory left nearby to fight, really. And crucially, it's sat astride the main route into Europe. Strategic gold.
So you have the location, and then this idea of Gaza, holy war.
Yes. The Islamic concept of holy war, Gaza, merged perfectly with the Turkic warrior traditions that drive for plunder, for loot.
A powerful combination.
Absolutely. With Byzantium right there, it was the obvious target for both religious glory paradise, for martyrs, and, frankly, riches.
So warriors started flocking to Osman.
In droves. From all over Anatolia. And importantly, this wasn't just one tribe anymore. It became multi-tribal, even non-tribal. Loyalty wasn't to the Kai tribe specifically.
It was to Osman, to his house.
Precisely. A fundamental shift.
And this created a unique kind of society.
Yeah. The sources describe it as a large, heterogeneous, and dynamic frontier society. Very eclectic. Popular Islam was strong, but it was more based on oral traditions, mysticism, Sufism.
Less about formal scholars and texts.
Right. More lived, popular religion, and the rulers were part of this, deeply embedded.
How so? What did that look like?
They weren't aloof figures. They were Ghazis themselves, holy warriors. They were members of these mystical dervish orders. They led Ahi fellowships, sort of like artisan guilds with spiritual leanings.
Really? Guild members?
Yeah. Each ruler apparently trained in a specific craft. It meant they were plugged in. These networks gave them money, intel, recruits, even spies inside enemy territory.
So they weren't just rulers of the society, they were rulers from it. They understood it.
Exactly. That genuine connection was vital for forging this diverse group into a loyal, unified force.
Okay, so they have this dynamic society, this loyal base, but they're still kind of nomadic. How do they become a state-state?
They needed a center, a capital. That came when Osman's son Orhan captured Bursa from the Byzantines in 1326.
A major city.
A very major city. And Orhan immediately started acting like a classical Islamic ruler, building mosques, supporting scholars, setting up institutions.
Signaling permanence.
Absolutely. It quickly established them as a serious power, not just a raiding band. It was state building 101, but done effectively.
And their approach to governing was different, too. More centralized.
Massively centralized, especially compared to the Europeans they were facing, who were often politically fragmented, fighting amongst themselves.
Lots of competing nobles and weak kings.
Exactly. The Ottoman sultans had a much tighter grip, and they were ruthlessly pragmatic about keeping it that way.
Which brings us to that succession issue again. How did they solve the civil war problem long term?
Well, their solution was drastic. Initially, they tried designating the eldest son as a viceroy, give him experience, but that didn't fully stop the infighting.
Cool.
So by the mid-1400s, they institutionalized fratricide. Meaning, when a sultan died, whichever son secured the throne first had the legal right, even the obligation, to execute all his brothers.
Wow. Just eliminate the competition immediately.
Precisely. Chilling, yes, but incredibly effective at preventing those disastrous succession wars. It tells you everything about their priority. The stability and unity of the state above all else, even family ties.
Ruthless pragmatism seems to be a theme.
It really is. Look at how they handled their warriors. To get permanent control, they created a kind of service nobility.
How did that work?
They gave tribal leaders land grants. But crucially, it wasn't ownership of the land itself, just the right to collect its revenues. And that right was totally dependent on providing military service.
So perform your duties, keep your income, fail, and you lose it.
Exactly. And interestingly, this system was heavily based on the Byzantine paranoia system. They saw something that worked, even in their enemy, and adapted it.
Smart. And what about the day-to-day running of the state? Administration, taxes?
Super efficient. Initially, they actually relied on experienced Christian advisors, people who knew how Byzantine and Balkan states worked.
Again, pragmatic, taking expertise where they found it.
But pretty quickly, the administration came to be dominated by the Sultan's personal household slaves.
Slaves running the government.
Yes, but think high-level state servants completely dependent on the ruler. The Sultan literally held the power of life and death over them. No independent power base, no competing loyalties.
It's total loyalty to the master.
Which made the Ottoman government, according to the sources, the most effectively centralized in all of Europe for a good couple of centuries. Christian rulers were apparently quite envious.
I can imagine. And this use of slaves extended to the military, too.
Oh, famously. The Janissaries, the new troops.
Tell us about them. How are they formed?
They were created primarily from enslaved prisoners of war, often young boys taken from conquered Christian territories through the Devjimis system, converted to Islam, and trained from a young age into elite soldiers.
Directly loyal only to the Sultan.
Completely. They were separate from the traditional Turkish tribal cavalry. They lived in barracks, trained constantly, couldn't marry initially. Their entire existence revolved around the Sultan.
Mayhem.
Probably the most effective standing army in Europe until the mid-1500s. Disciplined, loyal, professional, because again, they were utterly dependent on the ruler's will.
So this institutionalized slavery, both in administration and the military, was a core part of their power.
A huge part. It let the sultans break free from the constraints of traditional nomadic or tribal loyalties. Combined with their alliances with those dervish orders and guilds we mentioned, it created what the sources call an invulnerable power base. Centralized, loyal, effective.
Okay, so they had the state structure, the loyalty.
Yeah.
What about on the battlefield itself? What gave them the edge?
Well, morale was high. That Gaza spirit definitely motivated them. And unity of command helped, but tactically their traditional forces were often superior too.
How so?
Think about their lightly armored horse archers. Speed, flexibility, showering the enemy with arrows, feigned retreats, flanking maneuvers.
Compared to the Europeans?
Who often relied on heavily armored knights in compact formations and lumbering shock tactics. Think slow, heavy charges. The Ottoman cavalry could often run rings around them. Agility versus brute force.
And the leadership. The sultans themselves.
Master strategists, generally. They were open to advice, they delegated command effectively, and crucially, that pragmatism again.
Back to pragmatism. How did it show up in military tech?
Gunpowder. Especially artillery. They adopted cannons early and enthusiastically.
Even though it wasn't traditional.
Right. Some of their own commanders apparently protested, called cannons unclean, not part of classical Islamic warfare.
But the sultans push ahead.
Absolutely. They saw the advantage breaking down fortress walls, battlefield impact, and they went for it. Tradition didn't stand in the way of effectiveness. That willingness to innovate, to adopt new tech even if it broke norms, was a massive advantage.
Makes sense. But warfare wasn't the only tool, was it? You mentioned diplomacy.
Masters of diplomacy. They really understood the inner workings of their enemies. They knew the rivalries, the weaknesses.
And used that knowledge.
Constantly. A lot of their expansion, especially early on, wasn't through outright conquest, but clever diplomacy, playing rivals off against each other.
How did it do that?
Shifting alliances were key. They'd ally with one Balkan state against another, then switch. And political marriages were huge. Sultans' harems were full of Byzantine, Bulgarian, Serbian princesses.
Sealing deals and gaining influence.
Exactly. And their preferred method wasn't always immediate war. They'd often threaten force to make a ruler accept vassal status.
Meaning?
Pay annual tribute, provide troops when demanded. The local ruler kept his throne, but he was now subordinate to the sultan.
A less costly way to expand control.
Much less costly. Only if the vassal ruler rebelled or refused terms did they usually resort to full-scale invasion and annexation. Many Balkan rulers actually chose vassalage to keep their positions, at least for a while.
And they exploited religious divisions, too.
Oh, absolutely. They were very aware of the deep split between Orthodox and Roman Catholic Christians, and tensions between mainstream churches and groups considered heretics.
How did they use that?
Well, for example, the Orthodox populations, especially after the Great Schism in 1054 and the Crusades, deeply distrusted the Pope and Roman Catholicism.
A long-standing animosity.
Definitely. So when the Byzantine Emperor John VIII, desperate for Western military aid against the Ottomans, agreed to formally unite the Orthodox and Catholic churches at the Council of Florence in 1439.
How did his own people react?
Badly. There was huge opposition among the Orthodox clergy and population. They saw it as a betrayal. The Ottomans absolutely capitalized on that disaffection. It made conquering Orthodox areas like the Morea in Greece and even Constantinople itself easier because the population felt alienated from their rulers' pro-Western policy.
Wow. Turning internal religious strife into a strategic advantage.
Very shrewd. And there's one more big factor we need to mention: the situation in the rest of Europe.
Things weren't exactly stable there either.
Far from it. From the mid-1300s to the mid-1500s, Western Europe was facing massive disruption. The Black Plague wiped out huge portions of the population.
Crippling their ability to respond.
Absolutely. And politically, it was incredibly fragmented. You had the 100 Years' War dragging on between England and France.
Tying up two major powers.
Right. The authority of the papacy was weakened by the Avignon captivity and the Great Schism that followed rival popes. The Holy Roman Empire was becoming less empire, more loose federation, disunity everywhere.
So who could actually challenge the Ottomans effectively?
Realistically, only Venice, with its navy, and the Kingdom of Hungary on land. But Venice was hit hard by the plague. Hungary did try. They led 3 major crusades into the Balkans.
When were those?
1396 at Nikopol, 1444 at Varna, and 1448 at Kosovo again.
And the results?
All ended in crushing Ottoman victories. Why? Well, the papacy's prestige was low, so rallying Europe was hard. And the big kings in France, England, the Empire, they were often too busy fighting each other or worried about rivals attacking them if they left home.
So they just didn't show up?
Largely, no. Western Europe basically adopted a defensive stance. They effectively abandoned the Balkans to the Ottomans until much later, like the 17th century. The Ottomans had a relatively free hand.
Okay, so let's track the actual conquest. Stage 1, securing that foothold in Europe. Where does that start?
Gallipoli, 1354. Orhan gets control of this key peninsula on the European side of the Dardanelles Strait. Maybe helped by an earthquake, the sources suggest.
Fortuitous indeed.
He immediately poured Turkish colonists in, made it a solid base, and crucially, it cut Constantinople's land route to potential European allies. Byzantium was isolated.
Then Adrianople.
1360. Murad I captures Adrianople, a major Byzantine city in Thrace. And then he does something huge. He moves the Ottoman capital there from Bursa in Anatolia, renames it Edirne.
The clear statement of intent. We're staying in Europe.
Exactly. It sent shockwaves. And the Balkan states right in their path. They were in rough shape.
We mentioned Byzantium was fragmented. What about Bulgaria and Serbia?
Bulgaria was declining. Already weakened by internal divisions, rulers giving bits away to their sons, creating rivalries, plus religious strife and a damaging Hungarian attack.
Not exactly strong opposition.
Not at all. And Serbia, after their great ruler Stefan Dusan died in 1355, it just dissolved. His successor was weak. Powerful nobles carved out their own territories, fought constantly. prime conditions for Ottoman exploitation.
Which led to that battle in 1371.
The rout of the Serbs at Ominyan, yes, near the Maritsa River. A surprise Ottoman attack completely wiped out the forces of two major Serbian rulers, Ugljica and Vukašin.
The impact.
Devastating for the Serbs. What little unity they had collapsed. It opened the floodgates for Ottoman raids deeper into the Balkans and forced many remaining Serb and Bulgarian rulers, even the Byzantine emperor, into becoming Ottoman vassals, paying tribute.
Then the really famous one, Kosovo-Polje.
June 28, 1389, a massive, bloody battle. Both leaders were killed, Sultan Murad for the Ottomans, Prince Lazar for the Serbs and their allies.
So a draw technically.
Technically, yes, but strategically, a massive Ottoman win. Why? The Serbs threw everything into that battle, all their available manpower. They were crippled afterwards, irreparably weakened, as the sources say.
Whereas the Ottomans
had huge reserves back in Anatolia they could call on. So Kosovo really sealed Serbia's fate and cemented Ottoman dominance south of the Danube.
And Bulgaria's end came soon after.
Very soon. Murad's successor, Bayezid I, nicknamed the Thunderbolt for his speed, crushed the remaining Bulgarian rulers who'd been disloyal vassals. He captured their capital Trnovo, beheaded Tsar Shishman.
Total conquest.
Pretty much. After Bayezid defeated that big Western crusade at Nikopol in 1396, he took the last Bulgarian holdout, Vidin, and that was it. Bulgaria ceased to exist as a state. The first major Balkan Christian kingdom completely wiped off the map.
But then the Ottomans hit a snag. They interregned them.
Right. 1402, Bayezid himself was defeated and captured by the invading Turco-Mongol ruler Timurlenk, or Tamerlane, at the Battle of Ankara. A huge shock.
What happened then?
The Ottoman state basically fractured. Bayezid's sons fought a brutal civil war for over a decade, from 1402 to 1413. The Ottomans were reduced to being vassals of Tamerlane for a time. Balkan expansion stopped dead.
So a pause. But not the end.
Not the end. Stage 2. Resurgence and consolidation, starting around 1413. Mehmed I eventually won the civil war, reunited the state.
How did he handle the Balkans? Those vassals must have been acting pretty independently.
They were. Mehmed had to be cautious, used a lot of diplomacy, but he also faced internal challenges, like a big popular revolt led by a scholar mystic named Bedreddin, who preached this radical idea of merging Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. Mehmed crushed that revolt.
Showing the state was back in control.
Yes. Then his son, Murad II, took over in 1421 and really cranked up the pressure again.
Back on the offensive.
Definitely. He launched another siege of Constantinople in 1422. It failed, but showed intent. He took Thessaloniki back from Venice in 1430. He clearly saw Hungary as the main rival now and focused on pushing north.
Which led to those failed crusades we talked about, Varna and Second Kosovo.
Exactly. After the Council of Florence failed to unite Christendom or bring real help, the Crusade of Varna in 1444 was the West's last big gamble.
Led by Hungary and Poland.
Yes, King Ladislaw of Poland and Hungary, alongside the great Hungarian general John Hunyadi. But command was divided. The Serbian ruler Branković refused to join, fearing Hungary more than the Ottomans at that point.
And Murad
outmaneuvered them, crushing defeat for the Crusaders. King Ladislaw was killed. The sources say Varna abandoned Byzantium to its fate.
And the Second Battle of Kosovo.
1448. Hunyadi tried again, leading a Hungarian army. Another decisive Ottoman victory after 2 days of fighting. This really broke the Hungarians' offensive capability for a while and guaranteed Ottoman control over the Balkans south of the Danube. The path was clear.
Clear for whom?
For Mehmed II, the conqueror, who came to the throne in 1451.
And his main goal?
Constantinople. It was an obsession. He spent 2 years in meticulous preparation.
What kind of prep?
Building a huge navy to blockade the city, commissioning those enormous bronze cannons from that Hungarian engineer, urban cannons that could reportedly breach walls previously thought impregnable, building a fortress, Rumeli Hisari, right on the Bosphorus to cut off any potential aid coming from the Black Sea, gathering troops from all over the empire.
Leaving nothing to chance.
Nothing. The siege began in April 1453. The defense, led by Emperor Constantine XI, was incredibly brave, but they were vastly outnumbered.
How long did it last?
About 2 months. Constant bombardment from those massive cannons finally breached the ancient Theodosian walls. On May 29th, 1453, the final assault succeeded.
And the emperor
died fighting in the breach, a truly heroic end. Constantinople, the queen of cities, the center of Eastern Christendom for over 1,000 years, had fallen.
And became Istanbul.
Became Istanbul, the new capital of the Ottoman Empire. A turning point in world history, no question.
Yeah.
And Mehmed wasn't done.
What came next? mopping up.
Pretty much. He was determined to eliminate all remaining Christian principalities and Byzantine remnants, centralize everything under his direct rule.
So Serbia's final end.
1459. After more campaigns, the last Serbian capital at Smederevo fell. The Serbian state, as the sources say, completely disappeared.
Greece, the Morea.
Fell in 1460. The last Byzantine rulers, their brothers, were busy fighting each other, creating chaos. Mehmed stepped in and annexed the whole region. That was effectively the final end of the Byzantine Empire.
What about places like Albania, Bosnia?
They were conquered systematically over the next couple of decades. Bosnia fell relatively quickly. Albania put up fierce resistance under their national hero, Skanderbeg, who fought a brilliant guerrilla war for over 20 years.
But eventually,
After Skanderbeg's death, Albania was subdued by the late 1470s. Herzegovina and Montenegro were also absorbed around the same time. By 1481, Mehmed controlled almost the entire Balkan peninsula south of the Danube, directly or indirectly.
Almost. Was there an exception?
Yes, Moldavia, north of the Danube, led by their voivode, Stefan, the great Stefan Salmer. Incredible figure.
What did he do?
Reigned for nearly 50 years, 1457 to 1504. He was brilliant militarily and diplomatically. Initially, he even used Ottoman vassalage to get leverage against Hungary, but once he felt strong enough, he refused tribute and fought off multiple massive Ottoman invasions led by Mehmed himself.
He beat Mehmed the Conqueror.
Inflicted some serious defeats on his armies? Yes. Stefan fought what the sources call a heroic border war for years, often allied with Hungary. His resistance is seen as the main reason why Moldavia and neighboring Wallachia, the two Romanian principalities, kept their autonomy and didn't get fully absorbed like the states south of the Danube.
A remarkable story of defiance.
Truly. But elsewhere, Mehmed's work was done, and just before he died in 1481,
You tried one more audacious move?
he sent an army across the Adriatic to Italy. They captured the port of Otranto in the south and were apparently planning to march on Rome itself.
Seriously, marching on Rome.
That seems to have been the plan. Only the news of Mehmed's sudden death in 1481 stopped the campaign and forced a withdrawal. Imagine how history might have changed.
Wow. So by Mehmed's death, the Balkan conquest was basically locked in.
Essentially complete. His successors, like Bayezid II, consolidated things, took Montenegro, gained control of the Black Sea coast from Moldavia, securing trade routes, and then Suleiman the Magnificent captured Belgrade in 1521, a fortress Mehmed had failed to take, and pushed Ottoman power right to the gates of Vienna. But the foundation was laid by Mehmed and his predecessors.
So wrapping this up, it's this incredible convergence, isn't it? You have this unique dynastic strength, this line of capable rulers.
Absolutely. Combined with the potent ideology of Gaza, holy war, motivating their warriors.
Plus radical state-building innovations, that centralization, the use of household slaves, the janissaries.
Military adaptability, adopting gunpowder, smart tactics.
Shrewd diplomacy, playing enemies against each other, exploiting religious divisions.
And all of this happening while their main opponents in Europe were divided, weakened by plague, war, and internal strife.
It created the perfect storm for a small nomadic principality to transform itself into one of history's great empires with astonishing speed.
So when you think about this whole story, their adaptability, their innovation, how they seized every single opportunity, what does it tell us about how power works, how states rise and fall? Is there something in that Ottoman model, that ability to overcome limitations and exploit weakness, that resonates even today?
And maybe consider this. The map of the Balkans today, its cultures, its conflicts, its identities.
Oh, yeah.
How much of that is still shaped by the echo of this incredible Ottoman conquest centuries ago? It makes you think about how deep historical roots really run, doesn't it?